Welcome to this week's edition of Oregon Minute. Each week, OCA Media features a guest or community leader who shares information on topics important to you, our listeners and viewers. New weekly episodes are broadcast on our cable channels as well as on demand through our YouTube channel. Visit ocamedia.com for more information.
The Oregon Minute is brought to you with financial support from friends of OCA Media and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of the Oregon Minute. I'm your host, Tom Kirchdoerfer. Oregon's been experiencing a lot of growth, and there are several projects being discussed at nearly every village board meeting. To talk about these projects and what's been going on in Oregon, we're very pleased to welcome Oregon's Director of Planning and Zoning Administration, Elise Cruz. Elise, welcome to the Oregon Minute.
Thanks, Tom.
So to get things rolling here, I'm not sure everyone knows that Oregon's your hometown, right?
That's right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to work for the village?
Sure. I've lived in the Oregon School District now 3 different times in my life. I keep trying to get away and my life keeps bringing me back here. So at this point, I've just given up and called uncle, and I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. But I lived here on South Main Street when I was in preschool, went to OPI, and then my family moved out of state for a little while, ended up back in Wisconsin, and eventually bought a home in Fitchburg in the Oregon School District. So I attended Oregon schools grades 7 through 12. And then I headed up to Northland College in Ashland, way up at the top of the state, studied sustainable community development, was my bachelor's degree. And then after working for the city of Ashland for about a year in their planning department, decided I wanted to go a step further into the planning world and kind of figure out what exactly I wanted to do. So I went to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, right at the base of Shenandoah National Park for grad school. So was out there for a total of 5 years with school and then working in nonprofit management and then for a real estate developer out there. So I did actually find this job posting when the village posted this in the Oregon Observer, because my mom gets the Observer and still lives in town. Said, hey, I think this would be a good fit for you. You know, this is what you went to school for. And so it actually took a couple months. The second posting was the one that I ended up applying to, and just thought, well, I don't know enough to say no. So let me apply and learn a little bit more about what's going on at the village, meet some of the folks there and see if this might be a good fit. So that was summer of 2019. Went through the application process and then moved back up here in October of 2019. So just a couple months before COVID. So it's been about 2.5 years that I've been back here, but now live in the village and can walk to work. And it's been great to be back in my hometown and, you know, planning the same streets that I ran in cross country as a teenager. It's kind of deja vu every day and hard to, you know, as everybody knows, hard to go run errands in town without running into somebody you know. So we're here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you back. I think you've been a great addition to the Oregon staff, and I know everyone enjoys hearing, you know, your project, and I think you bring a great flavor to things. One thing in preparing for this interview, we exchanged some emails, and I noticed in your email signature there's a AICP on the end of your signature. What does the AICP stand for?
So AICP stands for American Institute of Certified Planners. So similar to how you might see an engineer have a PE, professional engineer certification at the end of their name. I'm a certified planner, so I went through a test and then also some different written applications and had to have a certain education background as well as years of experience to be able to qualify to take a test, but did that in the fall of 2020. So I've been a certified planner now for about 1.5 years, but essentially just holds me to a certain ethical standard. And there's a lot of professional education that's required every year that's associated with that.
So while I was looking at your email signature, I also noticed that it almost looks like you have 2 jobs. There's the Director of Planning and Zoning Administrator. Are those 2 separate jobs? And then I guess what are your real responsibilities within the village then?
Sure, yeah. So the zoning administration is more kind of the nuts and bolts of where things can be in the village and kind of operating on a case-by-case basis with different properties, getting calls about where can I put my fence, where can I put my shed, I bought a property here and looking to put a business, what uses are allowed in the zoning district. So we've got a variety of different zoning districts around the village, different commercial, industrial, several different residential districts. And so all those districts that are outlined in our zoning code, they all have their own set of rules about what uses are allowed, how tall buildings can be, how close to the property lines, all of that nuts and bolts stuff. So I answer questions from the public about things like, I want to put in a pool, what are the parameters about where I can put it, permitting, things like that. And then I also have to wear my zoning hat when I'm looking at new construction or renovations that are like site plans that we take to the planning commission meeting. So again, making sure that it's meeting all those rules and regulations that are outlined in our zoning code. The director of planning hat is a little bit broader. That's kind of everything else falls into that category, and a little bit more long range thinking for the village. So planning out parks and trails, looking at future growth areas for new neighborhoods in the village, overseeing things like downtown redevelopment or working on municipal buildings like the library project. So the planning kind of captures everything else. The zoning is a little bit more of a regulated type position, a lot more cut and dry. The planning is where I get to put my creative thinking hat on.
So it seems like a long time ago. We have COVID time these days and everything seems like a long time ago, but I noticed that, there was a lot of discussion about affordable housing and the project on there at the end of Wolf Street and Janesville is coming along. Can you just kind of update us a little bit on some of those affordable housing projects?
Sure. So the project that you were mentioning at the end of Wolf Street and Janesville Street there, that's been developed by Lakestone Properties out of McFarland. They're the ones that built Jefferson Crossings downtown here. So we've got a really good track record, really great to work with. This is their first affordable housing project. So we're really pleased that they went through the time and effort, a big learning curve for them to bring that to the village. We knew that was something that was really important. So that's 153 or so units of housing that's aimed for kind of middle, it's 50 to 70% of the area median income for Dane County. So the area median income depends on your household size and everything, but they're slightly discounted from what you would find for new market rate apartment units. So you'll probably find that those will be a couple $100 off the typical market rate list price for a brand new apartment. They're 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. There'll be a building that's just geared towards folks that are 55 and older. So it'll be a nice mix, and they'll have some green space. A lot of that land too is wetland, so there'll be a lot of undeveloped land that'll just be kind of that green space left on the property. And that construction's obviously underway. I think the first building is going to be available for folks to move into, though, by the end of the summer, early fall. So that's really exciting to bring that project on. And then we have our Habitat for Humanity project, which is just a little bit further down Janesville Street towards town, right across from Wisco. So we're anticipating that construction will be coming on board in the summertime here.
Yeah, I noticed a for sale sign in front of that property. Was there some change or something going on there, or what's happening with that?
Sure. So part of the plan for Habitat was the original parcel was 1.3 acres, and it had 2 different homes on it, a larger home that's closer to the road, and then there's a smaller kind of cottage that's set back. So from the get-go, the plan was to save that larger home. They just did some renovations on that over the wintertime, and then they actually subdivided the parcel so that larger home is on its own parcel now and will be sold separate from the rest of the Habitat project. So the remainder of the land is going to have 4 different duplex buildings, so a total of 8 units with a pond in the back, nice little walking trail. There'll be a private drive named after Arlen Kai here, so it'll be Kai Court.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to ask you on the Wolf Street Janesville project there, do we have an idea when that's going to become available? They're making great progress, but
Yeah. So yeah, and that project's called Prairie Brook. But yeah, that Prairie Brook project that Lake Stone's doing there, I think the first building will be available. I heard late summer, early fall. I have a call with them later today just to get an update. But then the other buildings will be following shortly behind. So I imagine by likely the end of this year, early next year, we should have construction wrapped up there. Another important part of that project is that the Wolf Street and Janesville Street intersection will actually become a four-way stoplight. So that'll help control some of that traffic and make that a lot safer for people coming in and out. And of course, that's coming on board with our new light down at Janesville and Perry. So Janesville Street, driving down that way is going to look a little bit different later this year, and we'll be redoing that whole street with the county next summer. So we're giving you guys a break from construction for 1 year. Enjoy it.
so on the Habitat project there, then further down the street there where the old Jubilation Hall was, they always had that stone architecture there that kind of marked that property off. Is there any idea what their timeline is like on that and what's going on with it?
Yeah, so mentioned the construction, I think will start with the demolition of that smaller cottage, and then we'll actually be working closely with Habitat and the Historical Society to get some of those stone structures moved over to the Historical Society so we can kind of recognize the history of the Hallelujah Bible Camp Jubilation Hall space. But the construction will probably take at least a year, I imagine. So probably mid 2023 or later for move-in. And folks, again, there'll be only 8 kind of dwelling units there, but if folks are interested in learning more about applying for owning one of those homes, they'll be owner occupied. They should go direct right through Habitat.
So Habitat will have their usual working on the project kind of structure with it.
Yep, they call it sweat equity. So you put in either time working on the construction of your home, or if you're not able to do that, you volunteer in the Habitat Restore or something like that, office work that can be done. As there's also a lot of homeowner education classes that they do, how to be a good neighbor, how to fix your different things around the house. So I think that's a great way that they set up these first time home owners for success as they come into their new homes.
Yeah. Are there any other affordable care projects going on in Oregon?
We do have one that we're expecting to hear back on their WIDA application for the low income housing tax credits, but it'll be out in the Oregon Parks neighborhood, North Point Development that does a lot of work in Madison and around the state. Got a really great track record. They have a option on a property that's in Oregon Parks just directly behind, so north of Mulligan's and the new Journey Above daycare. Okay. There's 2 lots there, kind of right by that playground, that they proposed 60 units of housing. It would be a multifamily building with some commercial space and a drive-through on the first floor, and then some 3-bedroom townhomes. And that'll have a little bit wider range of affordability than the Lake Stone project down on Wolf Street, but it'll have management on site and again, that commercial space. They actually did some neighborhood meetings to ask, what the neighborhood would like to see. So hopefully, I know they're really hoping to get a local business in there, but we heard pizza, coffee, ice cream, that kind of stuff where you can walk down with your family. So hoping we can find a good user for that space. It'll have a drive-through as well, but be a nice amenity for that neighborhood to have another place to walk to.
Yeah. So then moving on kind of to some of the other projects I know that are going on in Oregon, we had Martin Shanks on a few months ago. What's kind of the status on the Village Hall?
Right. So for those that don't know, we have purchased the 2-story bank building at the corner of Alpine and CC from One Community Bank about a year and a half ago now. So we are going through and finalizing some renovation plans with our architect. The first floor is going to remain largely unchanged. We'll be taking out some of the teller area and adding a more secure entry point and front desk space. But we'll be leaving one of the drive-through lanes open, so that'll be exciting and handy for folks for absentee ballots and paying their utility bills and things. And then upstairs, a lot of that space is actually unfinished, so we'll have the boardroom upstairs as well as the community room, adding in a nice kitchen space for the community room. The boardroom is entirely unfinished space, so there's a lot of work to be done there, a lot of dollars to be put in. So we're just finalizing the plans and making sure that the project can stay within our budget there. But we'll be doing that renovation work through the spring and early summer, and then hope by fall we'll be moving in. So folks may have noticed the Village Hall is closed every other Tuesday. Today is one of those days, so we're going through all of the files. We got since 1941 we've been in this building, so a lot of years, a lot of boxes that have been wet and compacted over different flooding events and things. So it's always a surprise what you find, and lots of treasures that we're unearthing, old maps of the village and photos and things. But we're taking those days to go through and get ready for the move, and do a lot of recycling and shredding, and make sure we're just moving with what we need to have on hand still.
Sure, sure. So another big project that I guess that's coming up that Jeff Rao had mentioned was the JC Park project. How's that coming along? Any updates on that?
Yeah, we just had the bid opening for that project last Thursday. So we got, I think, handful of bids back, some good numbers, and we're just working with the low bidder right now to clarify a couple items in their bid, and then hopefully at the next board meeting in early March we'll be able to come forward with a contractor. I think at this point we're hoping that construction would start end of March, and then the majority of the park will be unavailable for use. Some of it will be untouched, so maybe some of the fields or a little bit of the trail will be available, but will largely be under construction throughout the year, probably by October, a lot of that wrapping up, and then we'll have to let the grass grow in through the spring and part of the summer next year. So more details to come on when those sites will be available, but we're really excited about doing a really nice upgrade for this park that's very overdue, and it'll hopefully alleviate a lot of the water issues that we see over there. We'll have a nice concession stand with restrooms that'll be available to the public at all times too. So if you're even just coming through for a walk, there'll be a spot to stop and sit down and grab some water. So that'll be a big project, and definitely impact our sports organizations and things throughout the summer. But hopefully in the long run is a good improvement for everyone.
So the other project that we hear a lot about and has had a lot of, I don't know, I guess, controversy in relationship to it, and it has its challenges and so forth. And what's the status currently on the library project?
So last night at the village board meeting, the village board voted to update their memorandum of understanding with the library board, and that officially changed the library site from the North Main Street site to the site out on Alpine. So we are moving forward. We've already started some design meetings with the owner's rep, which is he's an engineer, the engineering firm that's working with us on some, surveying and things on the property. And then the architects, OPN architects, have been working on the project since the conceptual stage. So now we're able to move on to actually, putting things on the ground with, siting the building, understanding where that really wants to go to be furthest away from wetlands, try to reduce the amount of grading that we have to do too, so to keep the cost down and kind of site it on the site in a way that it blends in nicely with the surrounding environment. So it's exciting to be able to move forward on the project after, hitting pause for a couple of months and having a chance to listen to the community. But we're hoping to keep things rolling forward and get approvals done through planning commission and the board for our site plan, and we'll have to be amending our comprehensive plan just to identify kind of the new parcel where the library will go. May end up kind of straddling some property lines, so we'll end up probably drawing a new property boundary around the library area, which will include potential area for future expansion if that's done in the future. But that'll be a process through the rest of this year, and then hopefully later this fall we'll actually be able to break ground and maybe do some site work through the wintertime. But that's at about a 12-month construction window too. So I would say earliest the library would be open would be probably the holidays next year, maybe so late 23 or shortly after. But
Okay.
More details to come. Thankfully, we're able to take a lot of the work that was done on the design for the library and repurpose it pretty easily, since we've got a little bit of breathing room there out on the site, and just again trying to take advantage of the views and try to incorporate that building really well into the site.
Mhm. So now with the library moving out to Alpine and as well as the village hall is going to move out to that same general area, what's the vision for the downtown? We've got quite a few properties downtown yet.
Yeah, so in the library discussions, listening sessions, and a lot of people mentioned the civic campus plan, and it's been updated many times, but not since about 2018. And a lot of the assumptions about that plan, aren't valid anymore with the library moving out of downtown, as you mentioned, and Village Hall, the youth center, the food pantry, a lot of other of those more public uses have already found a home. So there's, I think, probably what will happen is we'll do an update to the downtown master plan. And now with some of these spaces becoming available, think about what is it that we want to see? Do we want to see more public, open green space downtown? Do we need more parking for businesses? We know that the senior center is going to need a new space. Are there other uses beyond the senior center or that might work well with the senior center, like kind of a community recreation center? Or we've heard that there's some preschools in the area that would be really interested in co-locating, next to the senior center, kind of have that grandparent, grandchild type connection going on with music and art and lunch and things like that. So that'll be something I think we need to think through, as well as, do we want more housing downtown, and do we want to take advantage of some of these village owned properties to try to, garner some interest from maybe affordable housing developers or senior housing that might be good to have adjacent to senior centers. So I think definitely it's overdue to take a look at downtown, and now we have a new set of information to go on and a new understanding of what sites are available.
I can't talk to you about construction in Oregon if I don't at least bring up a question on the status of the Culvers project.
There was a rumor going around a couple of weeks ago, so I know that our village president tried to calm some minds a little bit on that a few days ago. But Culvers is still coming, I promise. They're very committed, really excited about this project that's going to be again owned by Craig Culver. So he really wants to put a stamp on it, and it's going to be that new model for their testing new technology, having a new layout for their kitchen, drive-through. So we should be really excited that we get to kind of be the guinea pig for Culver's here. I think we'll do a great job with it. But construction's still happening later this year. They haven't given me exact timeline, but I imagine by the summertime we'll see some things moving around out there.
So in wrapping up our conversation here, is there any last message that you want to leave everybody with and with our listeners with about the Oregon Planning and Zoning Administration?
Just a couple things, again, there are always rumors that fly around town. I think people also, when they see different plans that come, the Planning Commission, and sometimes get caught by surprise if you're not actually up on what's going on in town. So one, I always recommend to people to go to the village website and sign up for the e-notify. It's a little orange button on the right-hand side. You can click for whichever agendas and packets you're interested in receiving links to in your email. So you can at least see what's coming up on the agenda. And if you have any questions or are worried if Culver's is coming or anything like that, I'm always here and happy to answer questions by phone or email, or folks popping into Village Hall too. Also just know that like so many of us do, I have a hard job in trying to balance the needs of the community, what I think is best, but also listening to the citizens and trying to balance, everyone's got their ideas of what they want Oregon to be, but I think always remembering that we all love Oregon. We want it to be healthy and vibrant and active, and our businesses to succeed and everything. We all have that goal. We all just have different ways that we think we can get there. So but know that I love this town. It's in my blood. I can't get away, and it's, trying to think what's best, and can't make everybody happy in this job. It kind of takes a special kind of crazy person to work for the village, we say. So but I appreciate everybody's support and trust, and again, we're trying to be open doors here. So if you ever have any questions, wondering what's going on, or just questions about where can I put my fence or my shed in my backyard. We're here to be resources, and we love talking to our citizens.
Well, thank you, Elise. I really appreciate you joining on this episode of the Oregon Minute. I hope it sounds like you've got a really busy schedule. Oregon's growing very quickly. There's a lot of projects going on. I hope that you can come back and join us again for additional episodes and updates on all of these projects. Really enjoyed having you. Thanks for joining us.
Will do. Thanks, Tom.
That wraps up another episode of the Oregon Minute. Tune in each week to hear from community leaders and organizations from the Oregon area. If you have comments or suggestions for episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Just contact us at ocamedia.com. Thanks for watching. You're watching OCA Media, your Oregon Community Access Station.